Welcome to You Can Do It Too, a podcast highlighting regular folks who followed their dreams and made it happen. I'm Joan Hutchinson, your restaurant maven. I've been described as a risk taker, though I never thought of myself that way. My mom always told me I could do or be whatever I wanted as long as I set my mind to it, and I believed her. I ran a successful catering company that led to owning and operating a top 10 Orange County restaurant and catering venue, prior to earning a bachelor's degree in business management and marketing. You know what I learned by going to school after all of that? You don't need a degree to accomplish your dreams. You need drive, passion, and a belief in yourself. You also need some caring folks who support you and believe in you. I didn't need a formula to tell me how to properly staff for a week. I needed common sense and a deep care for creating outstanding dining experiences for my guests. I've been coaching and consulting with salespeople and small business owners for the last few years and blogging with business advice. I just wanted to do more, to reach more of you. I decided to talk with folks I admire, who kick ass at what they do, to show you that you can do it too. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining me today. I'm Joan Hutchinson, your restaurant maven, and today I am talking with Kathy Baldwin. After years of pushing through trauma, stress, and burying her own needs, Kathy Baldwin hit rock bottom, both physically and mentally. Despite initially turning to traditional medicine, she found it did not provide the solution she needed to heal and transform. Kathy then embarked on a self-guided healing journey using innovative methodologies from her studies in neuroscience, biology, quantum physics, and energy healing. Kathy transformed her life. Inspired by her breakthrough, she dedicated herself to empowering others to unlock their potential and create lasting change. She wrote Unlearn the Crap and founded RiseUP Coaching, offering a range of coaching programs and weekly live sessions. She continues to guide others through their pivotal crossroads, committed to her mission of personal transformation. Thanks so much for joining me today, Kathy.
Thank you, Joan, for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I really appreciate you coming on. I'm excited to hear your story. So can you talk a little bit about your life before hitting rock bottom?
Absolutely. I grew up in a traditional middle-class family, two parents working in the 80s where everything was coming alive. Women were going out into the workplace. We had just finally gotten the rights to have a loan or a credit card in our own names. So there was a big rise in women, and my mother was an amazingly powerful woman who had come from no education and rose so high in a very huge corporation. And so she believed in the power of women, and she really promoted that. What she didn't have to deal with, because she had joined the workforce before me, was the changing in the dynamics, the invention of the computer, how fast everything was changing, the changing roles, how there was still that environment in the workforce that a man could do certain things to women and women had to stay quiet. You know, the Me Too stuff hadn't started yet. So I was one of those women who was powerful, strong, and I just kept going and going, and I achieved some great success. But the problem was I was too strong for too long, and I gave too much away to everybody else. And I remember before my breakdown that I just said, I feel empty. I feel flat. There's nothing inside of me. Like I felt as if a funnel had drained the life force out of me. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wow. I can definitely understand where you're coming from. feel like I've been there.
I think a lot of women have.
So, and then you said that was before your breakdown. So that's hitting
Yeah.
rock bottom. Yeah. So you say you hit rock bottom. What was it that made you finally look for answers to what was going on with you?
Well, I have been a seeker of knowledge almost my entire life. I was one of those people who went to every course, every seminar, every retreat. I was one of those people who just was constantly absorbing information. I just loved it.
Me
And I
too.
used what?
I
You do?
said, me too. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was using this information to empower my staff and other people that I was training and coaching and mentoring. And I was really good at helping them achieve their goals. So when my breakdown happened, it was during COVID and I lost everything. Everything. There was nothing left. No health, no wealth, no relationship, no phone, no family. I mean, the whole world just broke out from underneath me.
Oh,
And it was
devastating.
one of the scariest things I've ever been through. I remember at one point I went to the bathroom and I could not remember how to wash my face. And I thought, where's my brain? I'm smart. I'm capable. I'm the one who's been carrying the load for all these years. And I have to go to YouTube to figure out how to wash my face. It was very scary. So I went through the traditional medical. I got a whole array of pills. I went to see a psychiatrist, which was the worst thing I've ever done because he made me give him all of my traumas from my entire life. And then he said, here's a prescription. I'll see you in a couple of months. He didn't realize that when you
Whoa.
open Pandora's box, that there has to be closure when you deal.
So, so when you say he made you give him all your traumas, you mean he's sat there with you and made you talk about
Yep, list
everything
it all
that
out.
ever,
Yep.
and then, and didn't see you continually?
He just wrote me a prescription and didn't even close up the session. He just literally wrote a prescription. I spiraled and I ended up in the
Oh my
hospital. It was my absolute lowest moment. And
God.
my brain was gone. It was just the scariest thing to go from being so capable, so strong and powerful to not even recognizing who you were. So from
Oh my
there,
gosh.
I looked at myself after I came home from the hospital. And I said, okay, you got two choices. You live or you die. And so I was a coach, I was a trainer, I had done all of this research, I'd done all these camps. I was an auditor in businesses, so I knew root cause analysis. And I thought, okay, so you have everything you need. It's time that you figure out and heal yourself. And it's funny because I had always had Glinda from Wizard of Oz as my hero. That one line that said, Dorothy, you've always had it within you. And that has been a reoccurring theme in my life. And so I thought, okay,
Wow.
you've been preparing for this. Now, the person you were, you're never going back to her. And I didn't want to. I thought, okay, what do we do? So I began on a healing journey and I figured out the foundation. I figured out all the different pieces. I became an energy healer so that I could heal myself energetically. I
Okay, wait a minute. Stop there for a second. Um, I want to know, I want you to explain what an energy healer is, but before you do that, we're going to hear a word
okay.
from our sponsor. So give me just a minute and we will hang in, everybody. We'll be right back. I am lucky to have some amazing award-winning cheeses right up the road. Door Artisan Cheese in Egg Harbor, Wisconsin offers small batch cheeses that have been winning awards for years. And in Wisconsin, That's some tough competition. You don't have to live in Door County to get these cheeses, though. Just go to doorartisancheese.com and check out their selection. Their most popular is the Top Hat Cheddar, but my favorite is their beer-washed Gouda called Valmy. Check them out for yourself at doorartisancheese.com. If you're an expert in your field, have a unique story to tell, or an interesting point of view, it's time to explore the world of podcasting with Kitcaster, a podcast booking agency. You can expect a completely customized concierge service from their staff of communication experts. Kitcaster is your secret weapon in podcasting for business. Your audience is waiting to hear from you. Go to kitcaster.com/maven to apply for a special offer for friends of this podcast. Okay, thanks so much for sticking with us. I'm Joan Hutchinson, your restaurant maven, and I am here with Kathy Baldwin on You Can Do It Too. Thanks for listening. Thanks for hanging in there. Kathy was just going to tell us what energy healing is.
Well, I told you that I had been very interested in quantum physics. That started many years ago when I heard Bruce Lipton talk. And Dr. Bruce Lipton was a cellular biologist, and he had discovered that when you change your environment, you can change the DNA. So changing your thoughts, yes.
When you change the environment, you can change your DNA?
Yes. Which is part of evolution, because as the chemicals in our body start to adapt, our DNA adapts, and that's how we evolve generation to generation. So this was information I've known for a long time, but I started to look into it. And if your thoughts could change your environment, I started to look into, well, what are thoughts made of? How does the brain work? How does all of this happen? Where does the brain focus on what? I'd done it with human behavior before, but now I was going right into the root. And without getting too advanced into it, our thoughts are chemicals that release hormones. And those hormones set off a whole cascade of things in our body. Okay.
Sure.
So I knew that the other thing that I knew was I had gone to a nuclear plant with my daughter for a school trip. And the very first thing they had said to me was, energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be transmuted or transferred. Okay.
Right, because everything is energy.
Everything is energy.
I mean, everything is energy. We're all made up of molecules of energy, which is energy. Light is energy passing through. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I get that.
Yes. Actually, do you mind if I digress for just a moment?
Sure.
I just watched a neuroscience report that said that they have discovered, we had known that energy was either a particle or a wave, right? Had you heard that before?
That energy is a particle or a
wave. It depends on the consciousness.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It depends on the consciousness that's coming into it. If you expect to see a particle, you will. If you expect to see a wave, you will. And so this was science came back from a long, long time ago. But now they found that until consciousness comes into it, it is just sitting as pure potential.
Wow. Okay. Can you say that one more time?
Okay. So everything is energy, but it takes consciousness to turn it into a particle or a wave. So a solid mass or an energetic field. And until consciousness hits it, it is potential.
Potential.
Pure.
So it could potentially be good or potentially be bad.
It could potentially be anything, which makes sense when you think about Nikola Tesla coming up with the energy fields and all the other inventions that had no basis of being something that expanded. It just came. So
right. It's like it's out there It's out there. So either I'm going to see it or somebody else is going to see it,
Yeah,
right? That idea. I think Elizabeth
yeah,
Gilbert talked about that in Big Magic.
yes, yes.
So,
What I discovered was everybody was saying the same things. They were just saying it from their own perspective.
uh-huh.
They were kind of getting their niche. And I realized I
Okay.
couldn't be niched down anymore. I needed to be dealt with as a whole.
Uh-huh.
So on
Okay.
that note, I knew that stress brought out cortisol. I knew that feelings were created from hormones, and it's all energy. And so, if stress hormones are left trapped in your body, your body creates inflammation around it to protect yourself. And inflammation now has been proven to be the root of all disease. So
Right.
when
So, so is cortisol always like something that shouldn't be in you?
oh, absolutely not. Cortisol has a
Okay.
purpose. It's supposed to be brought out, utilized, flushed through the system, and then go back to normal. Our
Okay.
society has kept us on the stress level at all so many times that it's not just about life and death, the tiger chasing you. Our
Mm-hmm.
sympathetic nervous system, the central nervous system, I call it an
Mm-hmm.
on-off switch. And we've been staying on for too long. And I knew that because I broke down. I had fibromyalgia. I had all these other autoimmune diseases. I had osteoarthritis. I mean, my body was really racked with pain from all this cortisol and inflammation that I had. So, if that was happening and it was trapped, I wanted to know how to get rid of it. So I
Yeah.
found
So do I.
so I found Dr. Bradley Nelson. He was a chiropractor, but he discovered that the body was subconsciously talking to him and that he could release pain just through thoughts and connection. You know, it was a very interesting process. And if someone's interested in it, but I thought, okay, I'm going to try this myself. And I tried it. And then I realized how powerful it was. And so I became
Is this kind of like Reiki? Is it
everything is energy. So Reiki
right?
is a hands-on thing. The emotion
Uh-huh.
code and the body code they can be done distance because there's no disconnection from energy. So when I'm working with my clients, I do it like this. And it's amazing the transformations that I can get from clients. But on my own personal self, I was able
Uh-huh.
to find, like, I had 400 trapped emotions of self abuse in my uterus. Yeah,
Wow. Okay. You had emotions of trapped abuse in your
self
uterus.
abuse.
How did you find that out?
It's through the process of the body code, but not abuse, self abuse. And so self
Okay.
abuse, I used to think was like the flagging of yourself or, doing, yeah,
Cutting.
but it's not. It's every time you break a promise to yourself. Every time you put somebody else ahead of you, every time you don't say no when you mean no, every time you betray yourself.
Wow. That is
Yes.
big. That's big.
So here we were in a society that was saying, okay, women, if you want to be one of us, then you better level up. But then we were disconnected from our inner power of our feminine self. We were now still struggling to be all for all, and we were betraying
Right.
ourselves every day, day in and day out, with these small, micro, little razor blades.
Right, because we're supposed to take care of everyone else first
Yes,
and then
yes,
us.
yes. And there, as I kept researching, I could go back to history and find how this whole system started and how our society evolved into just such a way that we were so disconnected and disempowered from ourselves. And
Mm.
that's when I got angry and I said, okay, I healed myself, but this information needs to go out into the world.
Wow. How long was this process for you? How long did it take for you when you had the breakdown and you said, I got to find another way besides just throwing a bunch of pills down my throat? What was that? I mean, how
It,
are we
it was
talking?
about,
Months?
no, because I had
Yeah.
literally broken to nothing. And I really want to catch women before they ever go to as deep and dark as it was a good 12 months. Now you got to remember, I had
Yeah.
nothing left. There was
Right.
nobody's phone. My phone wasn't ringing. I didn't have to go to a job. I had nothing to do but heal myself. So it was the
Right.
greatest thing that ever happened to me.
It's funny that you say that. Well, I mean, I talk about mindset. I end up talking about mindset a lot because, we frame things and we make it bad or we make it good. It's what are you going to make that mean? And here it was a terrible time in your life, but then it was the best thing that ever happened to you. So that's a great example of the right mindset that you needed to be in. You obviously were ready since you felt like you had nothing else.
Well, I've been
Uh,
betraying myself for so many years. I took care of family, I took care of friends, I took care of children and mates and businesses and everybody else. And I knew
right.
that I was disconnected. I knew I felt there was more, but I never had the time or the opportunity because there was all of this noise on the outside of my life, right?
Right.
So that opportunity where there was nothing there, and I could not only heal, but I could now create and design who I wanted to be. I could get in touch with my authentic inner self. I learned to speak the language that the chemicals and the electromagnetic fields are using to talk to us. I learned about the energy of the heart from Heart Math Institute. I learned about the microbiome of our gut and how that's another intelligence center. There were so many things that I learned that I realized we have been taught how to conform. We've been taught how to be employees. We've been taught how to go along in the system. We've never, ever been taught how our bodies work, how to connect with ourselves, or that our dreams are actually our GPS telling us where to go because society was too busy telling us what we were supposed to do.
Hmm.
I know.
Wow. That's pretty profound.
It was life changing.
I mean,
It was life changing. Yes.
wow. Yeah. And it's true though. It's so true that we're told, oh, you can't do that. You don't know enough to do that. It's like I say in my intro, you don't have to have a degree to make what you want happen. I mean, you just need to know what's in your heart, right?
Well, can I share a
Wow.
little story about my journey when you talk about education? I became a single
Yeah.
parent at 21, and I realized at 21 that my son's life was in my hands, and this was not anything to do with him, so I had to take care of it. So I not only went to work full time, but I also went and got my degree part time. It took a few years doing night school and that. By the time I got my degree, none of it was relevant.
Hmm.
None of it was relevant. The world had changed so fast that
Right.
nothing was the same, you know?
Yeah. It it's true. It's true, especially now. Like I have a marketing degree and um I mean, I graduated in 2013. It wasn't that long ago. Um, but it even then we didn't have anywhere near what we have now. And I mean, the internet did exist. We did have cell phones, but had I gone to school when I graduated high school, that wasn't the case, you know? So yeah,
Well,
it's
even six
crazy.
months ago,
It's crazy. What was your degree
business
in?
administration, sales and marketing management. Yeah.
Yeah.
And my
Yeah.
marketing, so I went to school a little bit earlier than you, but the marketing they taught me was how to create flyers and how to get buy
Mm.
ad space in a newspaper. You know,
Yeah.
that world doesn't
Yeah.
exist. And now we have AI. So it's even changing
Yeah.
faster.
Right.
It
Right. It's
is.
crazy. It's crazy. So so you did all this self-searching, you did all this
Yes.
research, since I mean you obviously knew how to do that to heal yourself, decided that you needed to help others. What would you say is the most powerful thing you learned about healing?
Most powerful thing I learned was one, we know more about ourselves than anybody else, and we need to trust ourselves. The other thing was that alignment and integrity are what keeps us balanced, just like homeostasis is a system in our body that is constantly regulating our blood pressure and our temperature and everything. That alignment is what is meant to keep us in check so that we can be our best selves.
When you say alignment, what do you mean by that?
What do I mean by that is to have your head, your heart, your gut, your words, your actions, your thoughts, your feelings, your lifestyle, your environment, everything should be in alignment with who you are so that there is nothing that you're battling against.
So you're not creating any cognitive dissonance. You are who you say you are. You are who you want to be. You are what you believe. You put that out there to everyone you meet and the universe, and you're true to yourself.
Yes, and physically, you're
Uh-huh.
also aligned. All the
Okay.
systems are working. You know,
You're taking care of your body and your health.
yes, you're processing your emotions properly. You're doing self care. You are honoring yourself and your place in this world.
Mm-hmm.
And now you can flow. But when you
Mm-hmm.
are out of alignment, just like a car wheel is out of alignment, you can't drive straight. You're constantly
Right.
fighting to just stay on the road when your wheels are out of alignment. And that is exactly what it's like for our bodies and our lives.
Mm. Yeah, that makes sense. I think Tony Robbins talks about that. He says um, that when you think something that isn't where you want to be, or if you, it's like you can talk yourself into believing something that isn't true and that isn't what you want to be, because we want our word to be true. So if we tell ourselves negative things about ourselves, then we're going to start doing those negative things because we don't want to be liars. So kind of the same kind of thing,
Yeah,
right?
there's a part of our brain, and it's in the reptilian part of our brain. It's so fascinating. But it is programmed to be right, not happy, not successful, just right. And so, whatever program you have going on in your head, whether it came to you when you were 2 years old, or I don't know how much time we have, but can I share a funny story with you?
Sure.
Okay, so my mother, well, I told you she was this amazing woman. Well, she had this joke that was, I'm so perfect that I don't have bodily functions.
Oh.
And and so I have had so much digestive issues, And it was only like last year that I realized that all of my digestion, not being able to go to the bathroom in public, not being
Mm-hmm.
able to use a porta potty or on, I was had to be hidden and
Right.
taken away because I couldn't let anyone know that I had failed and had a bodily function.
Mm-hmm.
And now, when you think
Mm-hmm.
about it, that's the most ridiculous thing in the world, right? Our bodies
Mm-hmm.
are designed to
Right.
have functions. But in
Right.
the back,
Like we talk about that, right? With guys and girls, like men have no problem farting in public. Women would never be caught dead doing it, right? Even with people that we're dating. I mean, the girl's like, I got to go in a different room because I have to fart, which is silly.
yes, yes, yes. That's what is running in the back of our mind. And if we're not aware of what those programs are, they're controlling our life. You know, I
Yeah.
I was
Yes.
actually affecting my life, my relationships, my body because of this crazy belief of my mother's joke. And it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't until I did this work that I found out, well, that's not true.
Right. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
that
Wow.
is how those programs work. It has to be right
Mm-hmm.
because being right means you're safe and you're staying alive.
Yeah.
And that's all it
Right.
cares about.
Wow. So we just have to figure out how to reprogram ourselves and tell ourselves the positive things so that we're staying that way and on track and aligned, like you said.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
It's more than just telling ourselves because once you know who you are, then
Mhm,
you don't have to tell yourself anything. You just have to be you,
mhm,
right? Once you create that
mhm,
identity, once you set those values, and that was another thing. I was never taught how to create my own values, my own morals, my own boundaries. I didn't know that
mhm,
I could choose that. And now, once I went
mhm.
through the process and I made those choices and I created my own vision statement and my own purpose, and then decisions are very easy because it's either who I am or it's not.
Right. Ah, that makes a lot of sense. That
I
makes a
told
lot
you it
of
was the greatest
sense.
thing that ever happened to me.
Wow. Wow. So you now have a book
Yes.
coming out that's titled Unlearn the Crap about personal success and
Guess where I got the
empowerment.
title from?
So what is the most important thing that we need to unlearn?
That we don't need anybody or anything to run our lives. We don't need experts. We don't need doctors. We just need to get in touch with ourselves and trust ourselves. We were born with everything we need. We are not part of the masses. We unconformity does not mean there's something wrong with us because we're all unique and we all have a special place and a special purpose in the tapestry of this world. If we were all the same, then we wouldn't have this beautiful diversity, you know?
That's what my mom used to say. It, if we were all the same, the world would be a dull place.
Well, in my previous life, I was a interior designer as well. I'm one of those people that had multi passions. And when I was working with my clients, I would say to them, if you pick the same color and the same shade of everything, it's like driving in a snowstorm. You can't tell where anything else ends or begins because there's no contrast. And that's actually one of the laws of the universe that I work with is the law of polarity. You have to have the contrast and the law of relativity. That is how we create our realities, is by having those good, bad, hot, cold, those balances, male, female, positive, negative. We can't label things as good or bad because they're both the opposite side of the same thing. Yeah.
Sure. Sure. And it's about whatever meaning
Yes.
we put on it,
Yes.
right? I mean,
And we,
yeah.
and we,
So you just talked about
yes.
universal laws. So can you explain a little bit about what universal laws are?
Universal laws are laws that we have no control over. It would be like trying to turn the river around and make it go up the mountain. It can't happen.
Okay.
So if you were trying to spend all your time pushing the river the way you thought it should go, which is basically what I was doing with
Hmm.
my life, I was pushing the river the way I thought it was supposed to go. And all I did was be exhausted and get broken because I, but as soon as I turned around and went, okay, the river must flow from top to bottom and you let it go. That's what it's like when you know what the universal laws are. You're not blindsided by things that you think it's supposed to be. You know the way the world works and you just work within
Hmm.
it. And there's
Hmm.
no more feeling that you did something wrong, or sorry, I'm getting emotional. Um, there's no more judgment. There's no more shame. There's no more blame. It's just, this is the way it is. And if this is the way what I
Yeah.
want, then I can create my reality through my own perception, which is basically what I told you about the quantum physics that I've learned from the neuroscientists and the quantum physics. Yes, I do watch quantum physics documentaries. um, but it's all, we create it.
It's kind of acceptance of
Yes.
what is, or it's like understanding what you're capable of
Yes.
changing and what you're not.
So, for example, the law of relativity states that something exists based on your reality of it, which is basically perception or your thoughts, which is what Dr. Lipton proved that when he changed the environment of the cells, well, the cells changed. And so that whole process went down, and you could see how the brain now has, we know about neuroplasticity and we know about all these different things that scientists didn't know about before. But have you ever been
Hmm.
with a couple who went to an event, and when they're telling the story, they're arguing because they say, no, well, that didn't happen. Or, they have two different exact stories of the exact
Right.
same event. And they're both right
Right.
because it was their perspective.
Wow, these are some very big concepts. But so true, and it kind of makes you a little more relaxed just hearing it. It kind of calms me a little having you explain
Well,
those
you don't have to be
things.
right and you don't have to be wrong. It's just your perception and your filter. And if you don't like that perception, well, change the direction. Find a different perspective.
Okay.
Um,
Change the
change the
narrative.
narrative. Yeah. Like my
Hmm.
my crash. There's a lot of people who would have curled up into a ball and said, "My world is over. I'm done. I can't fix this." Or you can say, "Okay, well, this is where I am, and there is a polar opposite. So if my break is a polar opposite, then my absolute health is the other side. Well, I'm just going to go the other side. It exists, right?"
Hey, yes, yes.
I'm sorry,
Wow.
I get very, very
Okay.
passionate.
So, yes, I love that. Thank you for being so passionate. It really helps with your
I hope so.
message. Is there any um how can people find you, Kathy?
Well, RiseUpCoaching.io is my website. When the book launches on
Mhm.
November 21st, there will be a UnlearnTheCrap.com website that will launch at the same time. The book will be out on Amazon, both Amazon and Kindle. I can be reached at Kathy at riseupcoaching.io. And are you going to put a link to the
I
okay.
absolutely will.
So what that cheat sheet
I absolutely will.
is basically explaining in a very simple graphic, because I believe we think in pictures, and it explains basically what I said. I
Awesome.
hope it helps people.
Awesome. I, uh, I'm sure it will. I so appreciate you coming on today and sharing everything you've learned and your
I am so
experiences.
thrilled to be here. Like I said, I have gone on a mission that we have been disempowered for way too long. And I think I said to you at the beginning when we were talking that I truly believe that it's going to be the feminine energy of cooperation and collaboration and coming together as a tribe and supporting each other that is going to be what rises us up. And when we can get rid of the hate and the shame and the guilt and all of these things that are so detrimental to our world, we're changing the world.
Hmm. Wow, that's a great note to end on. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I will share all of Kathy's info in the show notes, so definitely check that out. Thank you to Chris Hutchinson for editing this and all of the podcasts. Make sure that you're liking and following, and hey, rate us, would you? Thank you, and see you next time. Every other Sunday on whatever you get your podcasts on.
Thank you.